We're back continuing our conversation with candidates running for Long Beach City Attorney, Bob Shannon and Tom Reeves. I've asked each of the guests to ask a question of the other. And Tom, what's your question for Bob?
Bob, in light of the deficits that we face and those that we are almost certainly going to face in the future, what changes would you make to your office if it were required in order to save the maximum amount of budget funds?
Well, we've, as you know, Tom, we have cut our budget 20% in the last 2 years. You, 2 years ago, stood in front of the City Council and refused to cut your budget in any way. You were the only department head that did that, certainly the only elected head that did that. So, and you had about a 7.9% reduction forced upon you. I would say this, I have cut my staff 20% in the last 2 years. I've cut it as far as I can cut it without doing damage to the taxpayers. So we're as lean as we can get.
Fair enough. And Bob, now your turn to ask a question of Tom.
Well, I got a particularly hard-hitting question, and I hope Tom doesn't resent this. I don't mean anything personal. But who do you think is going to win the SC game next year?
You know, that's a hard question because my son-in-law went to SC, but my daughter went to UCLA. And
I did
I'm really
not know that. I'm really disappointed.
It breaks my heart to tell you, but I think my son-in-law's got the day. It'll be USC.
Split loyalties. Let me follow up on something you and Bob referred to it in his answer. When you were asked to cut your budget 2 years ago, as Bob mentioned in his question, you kind of stood firm. Isn't there always some waste and extra stuff in any city entity that has a multi-million-dollar budget?
Well, according to Mr. Shannon's most recent answer to that question, apparently not in the future in his department. But to answer your question about my position, when I stood in front of the City Council, I reminded them that the increases in expenditures by department, especially by the elected department, represented to them that I was the lowest increase over the last 5 years, that I had had a 6% increase, mostly attributable to outside forces like workers' comp costs and insurance costs. So when they were talking about cutting budgets that were inflated, mine was not inflated. I have a 5-year increase that was essentially the cost of living increase. And I told them then, and I meant it, and I'll tell them again if they want to hear it again, that you cannot increase the police department and expect the city prosecutor's office to keep up with that workload if you cut the prosecutors. And that's what I told them. I said, you're putting your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. Make a policy decision.
Can I respond briefly?
Please.
The point is they have not increased the number of police officers. That's a bone of contention on a policy level. The fact is that the problems that Tom's had with his budget is the same problem that everyone else has had. We all had the same problem. The city auditor, Laura Dowd, the city attorney, and all the other department heads stepped up when we had to, cut our budgets 20%. Tom did not. He had 7.9% shoved down his throat, only involuntarily. So believe me, our position with regard to budget cuts is a lot more straightforward and a lot more sane than Tom's.
Let me share.
I have to respond to that. He's saying it was shoved down my throat, but I made them make a policy decision. And my department is part of law enforcement, and I pointed out to them that it would have a negative impact on law enforcement, and that's why my budget reduction was only about 8%.
Okay, fair enough. The issue's been joined. But let me ask a question of you. A lot of taxpayers and citizens are very concerned when they see big legal fees going to outside law firms that your office hires for a variety of reasons. First, explain why you hire outside lawyers when you have your own, and second, is there something that can be done to cut down those millions of dollars of fees we're paying to outside law firms?
Well, first of all, we're not paying millions of dollars. It averages about $1 million a year. On a per capita basis, our office farms out cases far less than any comparable city. Oakland is a good example. Oakland farms out their cases far more. The city of Los Angeles, which has 500 attorneys, incredible redundancy that we don't have, farms out far more cases on a per capita basis than we do. Now, the fact of the matter is that every municipal law office has to farm out some cases. A, because of the complexity. Keep in mind I have about 150 cases pending at any given time that my internal litigators are handling. If a big case comes along that requires full-time work by one or more attorneys, that has to be taken outside. The other type of lawsuit where or situation where we may have to go to outside is where the complexity of the particular legal issue is such that we can't handle it in-house. For example, the large Queen Mary bankruptcy, which turned out very well, by the way. We got all of our money back. But those are the kind of cases that force us to go to outside counsel.
Okay, we'll be continuing this conversation, but first we have to pause for these messages.
Phil Trainees mixes California style with continental cuisine that includes fresh seafood from around the world. Since Phil is the chef, the menu has a wide variety of pastas, salads, soups, and appetizers that feature his unique personal touch. And the Italian-American signature dishes are simply beyond delicious. You never know who you're going to run into at Trainees, from the famous sports legends on the Wall of Fame to local celebrities having a drink at the bar. For the best fine dining experience, visit Phil Trainees.
At Performance Plus Tire, you'll find we carry Toyo tires. For over 50 years, Toyo has been a world leader in the development of high-quality tires. Optimum performance, safety, and a comfortable ride. That's what makes Toyo tires great. And now come into Performance Plus Tire for a great deal on these Toyo tires. Proxys ST, Open Country AT, and Proxys 4. Toyo tires, driven to perform. Come in today and we'll install new Toyo tires on your vehicle while you wait. Performance Plus Tire on Cherry Avenue, 1 mile north of the 405 in Long Beach.
Founded in 1976, Polly's Gourmet Coffee is Southern California's most complete gourmet coffee store. Polly's has the best tasting coffee, freshly roasted every day right in the store, plus a wide selection of teas, an in-house bakery, espresso bar, patio dining, and more. We also offer Wi-Fi, free internet access for all of our customers. Our nationwide clientele agree when it comes to coffee, there's only one name to remember: Polly's, 4606 East 2nd Street, welcoming you into Belmont Shore.